is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty G. Hope you're all having a good one. It is a Tuesday, and it has been way too long since I've shared the airwaves with this man. It is Hans Olsen. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Oh, it's so good to hear your voice. I am doing extremely well. I've got the sun on my legs and chest. I'm overlooking beautiful palm trees as pigeons navigate their way through them, through the park. I'm just overlooking the ocean as it crashes against the rocks outside of my window. And I'm thinking, this is not a bad life. But I got to tell you, I love doing this show so much with you.
Yeah.
That I'd rather be sitting here in the room watching things, doing the show so that I can live my very best life doing the show and being where I love.
Okay, so you and I both love this show like a child. Like I hold these 3 hours of my day near and dear to my heart. We love this show. But we also love traveling. We love getting out there a little bit and experience different climates. And so, you know what? I think as we go on, I think needs to be the Menden's studio, the St. George studio, the Honolulu studios, the Charleston studios. I think that we just broaden our horizon of studios.
The New Smyrna studios?
No, yep, exactly. I think that.
Yeah, I got it. You got to get down to New Smyrna. Here's the thing, Scotty. That Pop-Tart Bowl is working out pretty well for me.
I bet.
I will be staying in Smyrna as BYU prepares to play the mighty Georgia Tech.
How far away?
Which is such a joke.
I know. How far away is that game from where you're at?
It's about 45 minutes.
That's it?
So
wow.
Yeah. It's Smyrna's about 45 minutes straight east from Orlando. Maybe a little bit northeast, but yeah, straight east. And it's just a quick skip and jump over a little bit. It's about 15 minutes north of Daytona. It's connected to Port Orange, and it's about 30 minutes. 30 minutes north of Cape Canaveral.
So, are you going to have Greg and Mitch and the boys over at your house for a little get together with some carrots and ranch dressing, or are you going to do it right?
Nope. I am happy to say that the entire Olsen crew is making their way out to New Smyrna. So we're going to be doing the Olsen family Christmas at New Smyrna Beach. I'm bringing everybody, except for, of course, the boy that's down spreading the gospel in the four corners of Arizona and New Mexico. I think he's in Arizona right now. But he will not. I was checking to see if he could get 4 or 5 days off for Christmas.
Yeah, they usually look down on that a bit, yeah.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure, but I did put in a request. They did deny it. But
the Lord's work never stops.
Well, it's interesting because when I went out, it was all about you can only call home twice a year and, no emails, nothing of this other stuff. Now it's you can talk every week. You can email, you voice. I mean, it's holy crap. It wouldn't surprise me. It was okay, and you also get 3 weeks off a year to go home and hang out with your girlfriend and your family and stuff. It's a different world than I was used to.
Oh, it's a way different world, but it's a better world, man, because he's thriving. He's just thriving, Scotty. I mean, he's driven, he's committed, he's having a lot of success, but he's still happy.
Yeah.
He's not down in the dumps, and his P-Day was yesterday, so we got to talk to him for about 20, 30 minutes, and you're like, geez, it's a whole different world, but I think it's a really good world for these kids, especially because we're sending them out so much younger.
Yeah.
I think they just moved the age for girls recently.
To 18, yeah.
Yeah, so now girls get out at a much younger age. So boys and girls getting out right as they're graduating from high school, they can get out in the field, and it's unique. And as long as they can have a little bit of conversation with mom and dad, I think it works. But, I'm still blown away that the reason that they limited the amount of times you could talk to parents as a missionary was because of long-distance costs.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't want to let one group of missionaries be able to talk to their parents more than another group of missionaries, so they just put a full mission-wide ban on talking to parents because people couldn't afford long distance. And once cell phones came into play, they're like, wait, why are we still doing this?
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
So let them talk.
My brother was I was in junior high at the time, and he was in New Zealand, and this was I want to say 91, 92, around there, and that was so the Christmas was like, all right, we're talking to your brother for Christmas because that's going to be about a $250 phone call, and so. And so, I mean, it was crazy the amount of bills you'd rack up on those calls because, and then, you'd have somebody a couple states away where it would be next to nothing. And so, it made sense, honestly, to do it that way. But now you don't have to worry about that nonsense. Well,
that's nice, man.
Speaking of money, University of Utah is in the middle of it. And we've got a couple of guests coming on later on the show to help explain this. Hans did not get into sports radio to talk private equity, but here we are, and let's get to it. Starting lineup right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Hans and Scotty G.
Let's go!
The lineup is set, and it's time to kick off the show with the biggest topic of the day. This is the starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It is your starting lineup right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard. Hans sunning himself in various stages of undress, currently in Hawaii. I'm here in Salt Lake. And Hans, a $500 million boost to the University of Utah. It is a landmark deal, the first of its kind. And the University of Utah is essentially turning into a for-profit organization called Utah Brands, and will give a certain level of ownership, not more than 51%. They will still hold on controlling interest, but a good chunk of the ownership of essentially the University of Utah Athletic Department is now being held by private equity to the tune of up to $500 million. And this had been talked about for a long time with conferences, with schools, and everybody, I think, was just kind of waiting for somebody to actually go through with it, because I don't think anybody wanted to be the first, but it's going to be the University of Utah. And I was texting with somebody in the world of college athletics earlier today, and I said, I did the old GIF of the Batman or, the Joker where he goes, and here we go. And he responded like, yep, buckle up. We're on our way now, because I think everybody was waiting for that first. And now you're going to see a lot of these other schools and a lot of these bigger conferences follow along.
Yeah, it's happening, Scotty. And have you ever heard the story of the hippopotamus?
I have, but I think you should share it.
The hippopotamus. Okay, so this is why I do not mind what's happening with the University of Utah. If it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, if it waddles like a duck, if it looks like a duck, the damn thing's a duck. And I guarantee you, as the University of Utah presidents, ADs, coaches are sitting around looking at this, they're like, this is professional sports, boys.
Yeah.
What else are we going to call this? Everybody's poaching our guys. Everybody's calling agents. Agents are coming to kids. They're trying to take our kids. Everybody's calling our coaches. They're trying to get a defensive coordinator that's head coach in waiting. What is this? This is professional sports. Why are we still acting like this is amateur athletics and that we can just conduct business like it's amateur athletics? These kids are now costing us between $400,000 to $1.2 million. We got to do something. We are bleeding over here. We need professional management. And so I totally understand how eventually you come to the conclusion of, all right, everybody can keep doing it privately. We can't do it privately. We have milked every penny we can out of Eccles, and we've gotten everything the Huntsmans can give, and we've already taken millions from the Garf family to build out this South End. Like, what else are we going to do here, guys? It's professional sports. We need a lot of money. So they found this private equity group named Otro Capital. And they told Otro, look, we're looking at $500 million. You will be a minority owner. Just so you understand, Utah is still the majority owner of this new entity. And Otro is going to be the minority owner. And they're also allowing a select group of boosters to purchase equity.
Yeah.
So boosters are going to be able to purchase a certain amount of the equity of this new entertainment company. And they're going to manage it and operate it like a professional business. Now, what does that mean to Utah fans? It means things are probably going to be a little bit different. Things are probably going to cost you potentially a little bit more. Everything from a Coke at the concession stand to a ticket to go to the final game of the season. Like, it's all going to change. I would imagine Otro is going to have some say in coaches. I would imagine that they'd have some say in pressures. If they want to start putting pressures on teams, and they'll have some say in, yeah, that guy's worth that money or that guy isn't worth that money. But I do believe that the University of Utah is going to remain majority owner. And, Scotty, in businesses, majority owner does have most say. Yeah. But it is going to be a partnership.
Yep. Well, the other thing, too, is I'm on both sides of this. And I get a little concerned when you let the foxes in the hen house, what that leads to, because you have guys that a private equity firm is going to be very interested in wins because wins lead to more profitability. But keep in mind, profitability is their number one priority because they have shareholders that they have to report to. They need to turn profits. So that is their number one priority. Now, the best way for a university to turn a profit is to win games. So make no mistake, that's going to be the biggest thing. But also, at what point you're going to, you hear the stories of private equity going into businesses and saying, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. We are cutting costs, we are slashing costs, and we are going to streamline this thing. And some of that could be good. Honestly, from a business standpoint, it never hurts to have another set of eyes come into your organization and say, okay, you can do this, you can't do this, we're going to do this, we're going to put more resources into here, we're going to pull away resources from this. That never hurts to have another set of eyes on that. But you do need to be careful about what you're signing up for when you go private equity, because it's one thing to say, well, boosters have always had a say in coaching and stuff like that. That's true, but these guys, but boosters never actually had ownership. Now you're having somebody who actually is a part owner saying, no, we need to, we need to let this coach go. And oh, by the way, we already have the coach that you're going to be hiring. It's going to be this guy. Well, we want to go through this process and really find the right. No, we want it to be this guy, and we know we're not the majority owner, but you pretty much need to hire this guy. So I'm really fascinated about how this plays out. I get why Utah did it. You're seeing your rivals down south just pouring money into their program, spending money, and really investing heavily into their program, and you've seen the results of that immediately. And you need to keep up, honestly. And you're not just keeping up with BYU. You're keeping up with the landscape of college athletics. You're trying to keep up with Alabama, with LSU, with everybody else in the country that's really trying to position themselves. Indiana, for crying out loud, you're trying to keep up with them from a football standpoint. And so you have to make yourself relevant. And to do that, you have to have money. And it's going to come with this private equity deal. Now, what are the side parts of that? Well, it remains to be seen, but it could be a bit unpleasant from time to time.
It could be really unpleasant, but it could also be very pleasant. And I think that kids are going to be compensated, and I think they're going to have retention plans for coaches, for players. And I know that we can look beyond football and we could say basketball, and we know Utah basketball needs a lot of help right now. Things are looking really rough to start this season before they even jump into Big 12 play. It's already really difficult, and I'm sure the coaches are looking around like, how much is on Kansas roster? How much is on BYU roster? How much do we have on our roster? And what resources are we putting into our roster? But here's where things get really interesting. These private equity groups like Otro Capital, they've been trying to get into all kinds of professional sports. Otro bought into a professional ski group, paid a big portion to get about 20% equity of a ski group. I think whatever F1. I don't know the ski world real well, but it's a professional ski group. They've been trying to find revenues in professional sports, but you can't break through. There's only 32 NFL teams, and they're very selective. It's the same with Major League Baseball, NHL. It's just tough. It's tough to be able to get ownership. And I think Otro looked at it and they were like, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to grow something big. We'd be the first in the door with college football, owning it as if it's a professional organization, running it as if it's a professional organization. Now, they're going to be very motivated to make sure that Utah looks good, performs good, and has a good outcome. Now, you talked about it. They have to go back to their board members and say, well, here's what our investment looks like. Here's what our return looks like. And they have to be able to show return, and they've got to show that they're excelling. So I think it puts a lot of pressure on Otro. I think it puts pressure on Utah. I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on the kids and the coaches, and we'll just see what happens from that point. It could be an epic failure, or it could be an epic success. If it's an epic success, then we probably see many teams follow suit. There's a lot of teams throughout the country that don't have the private boosters that BYU has or that Texas Tech has, that they're going to have to partner with some type of private equity if they want to get in the financial game to go running. Now, here's the other problem, Scotty. It's just like the NFL. The reason there are 32 NFL teams, it's hard to find 32 quarterbacks. Yeah. It's really hard to find that much talent. NFL talent's unique. I know. I was in the NFL. I went against these guys. I know that they are freakish. It's a unique world of one percenters, human beings that just don't exist. College football can exist outside of that frame a little bit, but still, they're really unique human beings. Their body, their makeup, their work ethic, their strength, their skills, like all of those things are unique. It's hard to find that many of those. So if you get 130 colleges that jump into private equity and everybody's trying to pay Bear Bachmeier $2.5 million to come play for us because he's the only quarterback this big and that durable that can give me 600 rushing yards and 2,800 passing yards, it gets competitive, it gets steep, and I know there's a lot of kids out there to fill the roles, but Scotty, if you're talking about X amount of college football teams, it's just hard to staff them. Yeah. It just gets really hard to fill those rosters and have guys that are worth the amount of money that you're putting into them. Does that make sense? Makes
total sense. Absolute total sense. And what was explained to me earlier today when I was talking to some people is, and Kyle Whittingham's been talking about this forever, and we've known it, and it's been out there, but I don't think anybody outside the industry really knows the pressure on a lot of these bigger universities. Now, Alabama, when the dust all clears and we have this massive super conference of 40 or 50 teams, and we all know it's heading in that direction, or not maybe super conference, but super league, if you will. And, your Big Ten schools, the majority of them are going to be safe. The majority of your SEC schools are going to be safe. But there's going to be about a spot for maybe 10 to 15, maybe 20 teams out there that want to be a part of that. And these schools all know it. So your BYUs, your Utahs, those schools that are kind of on the fringe, that are playing big boy football and playing at a high level, but aren't necessarily thought of as some of those blue bloods, they're trying to position themselves for in the next 3, 4, 5 years when the dust clears that they are part of the big kids table at Thanksgiving. They want to be at the adults table. They don't want to be down with the kids table. They want to be right there with a seat with the bigger schools. So what do you do now to prepare for that? Well, you have to have the best facilities, you have to have the best roster, you have to have the most cash, and you have to be performing well. And to do that, again, it all starts with back to that cash. And I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say Utah's trying to compete with BYU, and that's true to a certain extent. But BYU and Utah are just trying to compete to make sure that they're part of the final solution wherever college football is going, that they're a part of the highest level of that college football, and you need gobs and gobs of cash to be able to do that.
And we need them to do that, Scotty.
Yes.
You and I.
Yeah.
We need them to be the primary source of interest and drive the listeners in the state and drive the sports fans. We need BYU and Utah State for that matter. We need them to be relevant, and we need them to continue to build and grow. And I think getting in on the ground floor, being the first to do this, one of my biggest complaints about the Pac-12 was they were so reactionary. They were followers.
Yeah.
They were sheep. They were not lions. They were not leaders. They were sheep. In every sense, in every way, shape, and form, they were just reactionary. That always bugged me about the Pac-12, especially through COVID.
Yeah, agreed.
Just a bunch of babies. And you had these other people out there that are just leaders, innovators, trying to figure out, okay, wait a second. So we got these restrictions, but how can we still play these games? How can we still put these games on? I appreciated the leadership. What I like with what Utah is doing right now is its leadership. Now, this could completely fall apart. I don't see it falling apart because when big money people invest $500 million, you're right, Scotty, heads might roll, but they'll get things back on the tracks. And it could be a Jerry Jones-like world where you're in 25, 30 years of obscurity before you figure out your direction. But I like that Utah is jumping into this thing and saying, let's go figure this world out.
Yeah.
It's professional sports, guys. We're all playing for professional sports here. Look how much we're paying these guys. It's professional sports. So if we're going to play professional sports, let's make it a professional entity. And I don't mind that. You're going to hear all things from Utah fans saying, oh, the tradition and this. You're going to hear things from BYU fans. Oh, look at these guys. They're panicking. The way I look at it, Utah is saying, how do we stay relevant? Not only how do we stay relevant, how do we get competitive with both football and basketball to make sure that we're constantly on the edge of innovation and building. And this was the step that you take. The $500 million investment from a private equity tells me that it's not going anywhere. It's going to change drastically, but it comes with a price. You have to get good at the price of anybody and anything. You have to be good, and you have to continue to grow the business. And also, Scotty, I do think that it comes with an increased cost in things.
Oh, yeah. And frankly, from the outside looking in, Hans, I think it's exciting, honestly. I think it's really fascinating. I'm looking forward to being a spectator. If I was in the athletic department at the University of Utah, I might have maybe – in the lower level of the University of Utah Athletic Department. I don't know if I'd be as thrilled, but from my perspective, I'm really fascinated because, to your point, fortune favors the bold. So are you going to be a leader? Are you going to take some shots and try to figure out how we can compete? Because how much money is there out there available now? Like with the Eccles and the Garfs and everybody else you've talked to, how much more money is there available to squeeze from your donors? And if you feel like you've hit that tipping point and there's got nowhere else to go, well, then this is your next step. And if you really want to compete at this level, you got to go for it. And I don't hate it at all. I am very interested to see how it plays out. And you're right, it could backfire. But if it works, then good for you for being one of the first and being willing to cannonball into those waters and make it happen for you and your school.
Well, and what I'm seeing with boosters, and some schools have these boosters with unlimited pockets, and they can give every year. But what I'm finding with different fundraising and boosters looking to fund NIL and make sure that these players are paid is, you're going to a group and they're like, I'll commit $2.5 million. And you're like, oh my gosh, and that's a nice chunk of change for them, and that's a big chunk of change for you. And you exhaust that $2.5 million, and it's only 1 year later, and you're going back to them for another $2.5 million, and they're like, so was that? Oh, that was it. Just okay. So that was a 1 year investment.
Yeah,
and
that's
so. What was my?
We gave it all to the quarterback. We got that's it, and now we need him back. So we need another. Actually, we need 3 now. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
So where's your commitment level? And eventually, it just drains people. And it drains a sales staff, or, it drains a collecting agency. And you're just thinking, when does this ever stop? Well, it's never going to stop. We're looking at another 200 years of football here. People are just going to keep giving you 2.5. Okay, well, if this is going to be a business, then we got to start running it like a business. It's not a charity. It's not a not-for-profit. This is a for-profit entity. This is professional business. Let's stop acting like it's not, and let's start operating like we are. So let's get some private equity. Let's get the $500 million. Let's get in business and start running it like a business. And we all know that comes with major changes and adjustments. That could be Otro sitting down with the University of Utah brass and saying, all right, we want a logo change. What do you mean a logo change? Yeah, we're just not feeling it. We're thinking to go kind of more globally, and we want a new mascot change. You know, we feel like the Utes emblem and symbols have been controversial, and we need to move away from, you know, like that's the kind of group and that's the kind of conversations that come in. You know, we feel like we can really sell a teal and silver. A teal and silver?
What?
What are you talking about? Yeah, like we think, you know, have you seen the Seattle Kraken? Have you looked at it? And it's like, where are you guys coming from? Or they can come in and say, hey, this is a monumental brand. We love it. We love the drum and feather. We love the Utes logo. What we want to do is blow this thing up on a global scale. We're gonna infuse all of this activity into this, and we're gonna rebuild your mascot, and we're gonna, you know, and they're just gonna make what you currently have bigger and better. But it's not just gonna sit. These businesses grow, and they figure out ways to grow.
Yeah. Now, you know, you and I have always joked about there's a lot of restaurants, mom and pop restaurants that we've loved and experienced at the grassroots level, and then they get really big, and then they go private equity, and that great food, hey, you know what? Instead of these prime cuts, you're going to go choice cuts. Well, wait a minute. We got popular. Well, I know, but we've got now 10 different locations, and we need to drop down the cost a little bit. So you're going to be using this quality of meat instead of the quality meat you were using before, and we're going to do this now. And, this is something we're going to change, and we're going to do this and this. And you're like, well, that's not what made us great. Well, guess what? Now it's about numbers. It's not about quality. It's about just pumping out as much numbers as we can. And I think as long as you win, nobody's going to care how, you know, it's like our buddy Randy Rogers used to always tell us, like, don't tell me about the labor, just show me the baby. And so as long as you're winning, everything's going to be fine. But if you string together a couple of 3 and 9 years and you got an investment company that wants to show a lot of return on investment, they're like, hey, we don't like the direction this is going. So we've brought together an idea of some challenges or some ideas on how we're going to address these challenges. And we'd like those to be addressed because right now there was a press conference earlier today and everybody said the right things. And they're like, well, this private equity group will have no say in coaching and no say in this and no say in this. Okay, yeah, I get that. But you're telling me that when things don't go badly, that a booster hasn't been able to say, no, I want this coach fired and I'm writing a check to get him fired. Yeah. It happens all the time. Boosters technically aren't making decisions on coaches and decisions like that, but they do. So if you're thinking that a private equity firm won't have a say in coaching hirings and firings, you're kidding yourself. They're going to say all the right things, make no mistake, but the truth is going to be a lot different than what was being said, especially if things go over a stretch, which always happens in college athletics. You're going to have a stretch where you have a bad year or two. And what happens during those times, that's going to be really fascinating. All right.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It will. It will be fascinating. And, you know, this is interesting because Otro is looking at a Utah basketball team that is putting whatever 500 butts in the seats right now.
Yeah.
And if they look at the football program and they're like, geez, all right, so let's speculate 3-4 win teams. What does the stadium look like? I know that we've got this documented sellout, but what does the stadium look like? Okay, we can't allow that. We got to find a way to win because we can't let this stadium start to thin out. They know what makes them money. And the other aspect of this too, Scotty, is they will have an infusion in advertising dollars.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if I'm them, I'm coming up with a Las Vegas Raiders-like platform that is a push. Everybody has to have that logo. Everybody's got to be reporting on it. Every billboard needs to say it. Like they have to make it They got to make Utah, the state of Utah, as red and as drum of feather and as Ute as they possibly can. That's one big incentive of having a big $500 million infusion and Ortho come in and say, all right, well, we're part of it. You do see massive branding incentives and advertising jumps, which is great. I mean, it's great for the logo.
Yeah. All right, Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
That's right. Yeah!
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hans is hanging out with us as we are live. Here, I'm in studio. Hans is actually in Hawaii. But Hans, it's Tuesday, which means it's time to give away some tickets. Let's do it.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the three. He hits. Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, it's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. If you're caller number 12, you'll win a pair of tickets to see the Jazz up against Luka, LeBron, and the Lake Show. Lakers coming to town December 18th at Delta Center. You want those tickets? Just call and claim them. And if you don't win, don't worry. Wait next hour. We'll give away another pair, and the hour after that, and the hour after that. All right, Hans. Utah getting set for a bowl game showdown. BYU getting set for their showdown coming up against never mind. Not Notre Dame. Georgia Tech. Notre Dame's being a real pain in the butt, and they are complaining. I would love to see Brett Yormark be clamoring as much about BYU as the athletic director at Notre Dame is causing a stir about how they were so severely punished and how they are being so reprimanded and singled out. And, oh, woe is me. Shut up. You're Notre Dame. Go to your bowl game and just be fine. You want to be upset about it? Go prove it in a bowl game and go put a whooping on somebody and show everybody how good you are. But, no, we're going to sit this one out, take our ball, and go home.
There's got to be some kind of major repercussion. You saw that there were 5 Big 12 teams that have opted out of bowls. I saw, was it $500,000 fines that were handed down? There was at least some punishment from a conference. Obviously, Notre Dame's not associated with the conference. They're not going to punish themselves. You know, if you really want to get forceful and you want to make sure, you want to ensure that teams fulfill their bowl obligations, then make them CFP ineligible the following year.
Yes, agreed.
If you turn down a bowl, you are not eligible for the college football playoffs. We have money attached to each of these bowls through TV revenue, through site and city, through teams. And if that team opts out when that bowl has selected you, there has to be a punishment. And how do you really punish them? You can't fine Notre Dame $500,000. They'll flip it at you and throw it in your face and play 52-card pickup with it and be like, yeah, pick it up. They don't care. If you really want to get to the root of it and you want to stop it dead in its tracks, send out a punishment. Just let it be known. Anybody that refuses a major bowl that's attached to an ESPN or CBS or a Fox entity, then you will not be eligible for the CFP in the following season. I think it's got to be extreme because this is ridiculous. You can't just have teams backing out of bowls.
Yeah, and this number, because I feel like right now we are seeing – everybody's always talking about a slow death to bowl games. Right now it feels like we're watching a very fast death to bowl games when teams are sitting these things out, and it bums me out. I hate seeing this.
Yeah, it bums me out too. And I don't know what they end up filling it with, if they start filling it with 5-win teams or how they do it. But, you know, I just look at the bowl games that the state of Utah is involved with. The Vegas Bowl, it's great, man.
Yeah.
It's great. It's close. It's warm weather. It's all kinds of activities. Go down there, enjoy the game, enjoy a few nights, maybe enjoy the tables a little bit. go out and watch a show or two, and come back home. It's great. This Pop-Tarts Bowl, they've built this thing into the outside of the CFP, the best bowl game outside of the CFP.
Agreed.
Has become this Pop-Tarts Bowl. They've done so many fun things to kind of incorporate the teams and make the whole game fun and make the presentation fun. They always have great entertainment. So the Pop-Tarts Bowl has killed it, and they've made it fun. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, I think that this is a great matchup. Nice look at the future Pac-12. And I was talking about this yesterday, Scott. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be on the university call. I'll be on bowl season radio call.
I know. Bums me out, though.
We're going to be booths next to each other, calling this game and having fun. But that's what it's about, is it not? Like, let's go out there, man. Boise's fun. We'll go out there, have a couple of nights. I'm going to probably take my parents. We'll make a trip up to Weiser and have my mom and dad and some of the family out at the bowl game and everybody out there enjoying the Aggies. And my dad's a former Aggie, so he'll be out there having a blast at the game. That's what this is about. Just go out, enjoy it, be a part of it. You're going to be calling a broadcast. I'll be calling a broadcast. I'm calling the broadcast out in Orlando with BYU. And we're having a blast. That's how these bowl games are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people say, well, these kids aren't getting nothing out of it. Wait a second, man. They're getting a ton out of it. When you strike an NIL deal and you get paid $680,000 to go play a game, my expectation is you fulfill your obligations as an athlete as far as my university is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You fulfill that obligation. I don't want to play the bowl. I don't care what you want, son. There are millions of dollars attached to this bowl game. You are being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to play this game. So you will play in this bowl game, but we want to opt out. No, you're a crybaby.
Yeah.
This university is going to stand strong. We're going to show up. We're going to fulfill our obligations. We're not going to let the country down. We're going to do what we're asked to do. If BYU opted out of the bowl game, it would be really hard for me. But I would say I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. They are letting down kids. They're letting down coaches, letting down fans with opportunities for another game, extra weeks of preparation. You've got young kids that you could get in, but the other kids are going to opt out. Okay, fine. Let them opt out. Let's go see what we got in the second and third string guys. Well, all of a sudden we're afraid of competition. How long you been playing this game, son? Since I was 8. All right, well, we're going to throw you in. You're going to be a part of this bowl game. It doesn't count against your eligibility. Every player on the team has open eligibility for this game. So go play the freaking game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the kids don't get anything. Okay, Scotty, I put this in a tweet, and I want to express this. The last time in my life that I didn't have to wait in lines, I didn't have to pay the extra fee, I didn't have to pick up the taxes, I didn't have to pay the service, or I didn't have to pay the bill. The last time that I had a red carpet rolled out for me, big barbecue buffets, I got to tour Elvis Presley's house, just me and my teammates, and we got to tour the entire area of Graceland. We got to go into the book depository, and we got to have free reign in that area and Grassy Knoll, and we had these great tour guides that gave us all the details, and we didn't pay a penny, and we didn't wait in lines. And we had red carpets, and we had parades, and we had people that interested. The last time I got that, man, was when I was a college football player. A little bit in the NFL, a little bit in the AFL, but NFL and AFL, it's like, hey, you're a professional. You know, you're supposed to be at this point. You got to be doing this. In college, it's like, oh man, hey, so yeah, was I happy playing Marshall, an undefeated Marshall team? No. Was I happy playing an undefeated Tulane team? No. They beat us pretty badly, and the bowl game sucked. The environment around the bowl game, man, they had things lined up. They did everything they could to help you have fun. We had rental cars. Well, we had rental cars one year. One individual ruined the rental car situation because he decided to wreck one. Yes. But what I'm trying to say, Scotty, what I'm trying to say is it's one of the few times in your life that you're the superstar.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. Enjoy it. And then I get Brady Quinn. Brady Quinn puts out a tweet, and he's like, why would anybody want to play? Hey, no, not everybody looks like Buzz Lightyear. Not everybody fools the NFL into a couple of years.
Exactly.
Not everybody signs a multi-million-dollar ESPN contract or whatever national program he's a part of. Not everybody gets to do that, Brady. Like a lot of these guys are going to be playing most of these guys are playing their last games. This is their last time with their teammates. This is the last film they can put out for NFL scouts. I know I might be sounding like a crybaby about it. It just really bugged me because I thought BYU Notre Dame would have been an indicator. If everybody would have showed up and accounts were that more Notre Dame players would have showed up for this game than what people are assuming. They're like, well, we would have had 12 of our best guys out. No, not according to a lot of reports coming out of South Bend.
Yeah. It was there for the taking. There were so many opportunities there. And the adults at the table, they're not acting like adults right now. They're not. All right, take a final break, or take a break. Come up, we'll get you what you may have missed straight ahead. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, Hans, I want you to think for a second. If you were, you've got yourself into tremendous shape. You've been using the Woke AF. You're killing it in the weight room every morning. And you've been posting pictures. And all of a sudden, somebody from the Colts calls up and says, hey, Hans, we see this body transformation you've gone through. You were already chiseled out of granite, but we see where you're at right now. We need a little help with the O-line. Can you come and give us just a few snaps a game? What would you do?
I would say I do not want the pressure of your money. I would never lie to you and steal from you. I am 44. I am washed up and cannot get the job done for you. Thank you for the call.
I'd
be honest.
Phillip Rivers, on the other hand, said, sure, I'll do it. And the 44-year-old grandfather is now signing with the Indianapolis Colts, giving them a little bit more depth at quarterback.
Boy, is he a grandfather at 44?
He's a grandfather.
Oh, my gosh. He's got a kid with a kid?
Oh, he's got multiple kids with kids. And by the way,
is this going to be...
I think, was he 12, 13 kids he's got now?
I know it was a lot. Is this going to be the first grandparent to ever play in the NFL? Has there ever been a grandparent?
Favre might have been. And with all the kids Cromartie had, he may have been. He just didn't know about it.
You think Favre had grandkids?
He
was
might
still
have.
Slinging?
Yeah, I mean, he was well into his 40s when he was still playing, so maybe.
Because I know Tom Brady and Giselle got started a little bit late.
Yeah.
Maybe if they'd started early, Tommy could have had a baby or two out there. But I think this is a gigantic mistake. I think everybody's going to be embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and I've told you this before, my backup quarterback my rookie year with the Colts was Mark Rippon.
Oh, yeah.
And for those of you that don't know who Mark Rippon is, what Super Bowl did he win?
It was with the then Redskins when they beat Buffalo in a Super Bowl. So that would have been Super Bowl 25, 26, somewhere in that range.
I'm just looking it up.
I'm going to say, okay, all right. I'm going to say Super Bowl 26.
It was 26.
Hot darn.
You're right.
And
1992.
And it was against the Bills, and it was the game was played in the Metrodome in Minnesota.
And Mark Rippon, when he was my backup quarterback in 2000, it would have been 2002. No, yeah, 2002. So he was born in 62.
Wow.
So he'd have been
He was
40.
40, yeah.
Yeah, he'd have been 40, maybe close to 41. Yeah, he would have turned 41 in October. So he'd have been 41 when he was playing. And he beat out, I don't know, 2 or 3 young guns. Nobody was drafted. Obviously Peyton Manning was owning the place, but he came in and he was the life of the party.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, he was the life of the party. Yeah, he was the life of the party. But I see this going very, very poorly. I don't understand what they're trying to do, if this is a publicity stunt, but 44 years old, going back in the NFL, it sounds like a broken hip to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Hans and Scotty right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Number 1.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, make sure to join us tomorrow. We'll be live at RGS Exteriors from noon to 3 down in West Jordan. Make sure to give Tim and the crew a holler. They can help you out if you're dealing with anything on the exterior of your home, especially now that the snow's coming. You need those rain gutters replaced or repaired. They've got your back. All right. Joining us now, the man, the myth, the legend. You know him, you love him, you wish you were him. It's Ian Fitzsimmons, ESPN. Ian, how you doing, my brother?
Well, first of all, nobody damn sure wishes they were me. But you mentioned snow, man. I'm like, oh, come on, bro. Let's go, dude. I miss the Wasatch Front. Ain't nothing better than a white Christmas. And I promise you, we don't get those very often down here in Dallas, Texas. How we doing, man? What we got?
Well, our guy Hans is dealing with, he's in Hawaii right now, speaking of sun and no snow.
Of course he is.
And we're dealing with some, he was with us for the first hour of the show. We got some technical issues, so we're going to try to get back him on the line.
Hold on. Let's go ahead and call that out, right?
Yeah.
Technical issues meaning the beach.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
It means Mama's saying, hey, it's time to go get some beach time. And he's like,
exactly
all right.
Right.
Okay, well, we can do that. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my connection just died. The Comrex isn't working. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm out. Hey, all right. So the committee. Wow.
All right, let me just start with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I guess it's play like a champion today and then quit like a champion tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are we doing, man? I thought Clark Lee at Vanderbilt showed you the right way and the classy way to have a hell of a year, and then you have a committee of humans, which obviously Scotty will touch on in a moment, says, you know what? Sorry, you're not one of the top 12. And this committee made it very clear this was not about the best teams in college football. They went most deserving, and which drives me absolutely insane because James Madison is not one of the best teams in college football. Tulane is not one of the best teams in college football. One of them, you put Tulane in, and we'll watch the massacre again against Ole Miss. We've seen it once, and we'll see it again. 45-17, Scotty, is not a close contest.
Nope.
Obviously. So if we're thinking that it's going to be closer, sure, right? But damn, but Tulane was higher ranked. James Madison, on the other hand, not one of the best teams in college football. They're a 21-point underdog to Oregon. Does Notre Dame deserve to be in? No. Are they one of the best teams? Yes. And that's the problem right there, where we have previous committees have said we're about the best teams. And every year, and I've served on that on the mock committee not once but twice. Both years I served, it was different. It was one year it was the best team where Peter Burns and I didn't speak for a month and a half. He was one of my best friends because he was sitting next to me and we disagreed. You don't want Baylor TCU, the very first group of 4 team, right? We're meaning when we had it was only a 4-team playoff, not a 12-team playoff. And it came down to, well, you met head-to-head, but who's the better team? I swear to God, Scotty, I'm not making this up, man.
Wow.
We did not talk for like a month and a half, 2 months. Then the next time I served on it, it was more about that committee, that brand, those opinions of the second committee were more about deserving. And I don't give a damn about deserving. My dogs agree. You hear that?
There you go.
Cubby. Hey, Hush, it's Scotty. All right, you're good. My point is, and oh my gosh, Amazon must be at the front door.
Uh-oh.
I guarantee it. So deal with this. Sorry, Salt Lake.
No, you're fine. You're all good. No worries.
Bottom line is, man, this committee was more about deserving over best, and I completely disagree with it. Give me every single year, give me the best 12 teams, and guess what's going to happen? I promise you, having not talked to not one but two Power 4 commissioners, I can promise you, Scotty, we are going to 16 teams next year. So we just danced with 12 last year. Now we're going to make out with her this year, and guess what? We're going to dump her and move on to 16 teams and a whole nother, couple coming in next season. I promise you that is going to happen because of Notre Dame and BYU. BYU did not deserve to be punished for playing an extra game against a top 5 team. They didn't deserve it. They are one of the best teams. Put them on the field, Scotty.
Oh, yeah.
James Madison, BYU.
Oh, yeah. Enough said.
I mean, James Madison is an 18-point favorite in that game. Excuse me, BYU is.
Yep.
An 18-point favorite over James Madison. It's not about the best anymore. It's about deserving, and we have to figure out a way just to get best in. So whether we do away with automatic qualifiers, or you go with the P4s, you're in Duke, you're in whatever. But after that, it's the 11 best teams, not the most deserving, but best. And that's what I'm looking for. Sorry.
So,
maybe I'm wrong, but that's my opinion.
So I am curious. I did the NCAA tournament mock selection thing about 10 years ago. And by the way, me and Andy Staples got after each other on that one. But
it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It gets heated in there, man.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
Very much. But Gene Smith was the Ohio State athletic director. He was the chairman at the time, and he gave us very clear directions on what we need to be looking for in our teams. When you were a part of it, did they give you direction of, okay, we want the 12, or at that point, I guess the four best teams, period? Or was it up for you guys to interpret it? You talked about two different directions you guys went. Was that because the committee leaned that way, or were you given instructions by leadership saying, this is what we want?
No, and Scotty, that's a great question. It was the same message both times. It was just two different opinions in the room.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it was, hey, we're looking for the best teams in college football. Okay. And then I did it 2 years later. We're looking for the best teams in college football. It was the opinion in the room that changed. So that's my point. Every committee is different. And this committee, which stuns me, I mean, and I have not talked to him yet, and I feel like calling a couple coaches like Mark D'Antonio, who I know very well, and just to say, hey, what'd you think? Just to get his thoughts, I mean, I guarantee you, some of the coaches and a player in that room who have swapped paint before are going, man, what are we doing?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This ain't right. This is not right. This is about rewarding someone for it's like a participation trophy for your freaking kids in this day and age, which it drives me insane. When my kids were growing up, man, and now they're older. My older daughter is a sophomore at Oregon. My youngest daughter is about to be a senior in high school. But when 4 or 5 years ago, man, you're running track and for participating you get a medal. Oh, hell no, you don't get a damn medal. Are you kidding me? I was never more proud of my older daughter Rowan when she finished like 7th in some swim meet, and they're trying to give her a medal or this small trophy. She's like, I finished 7th out of 12. Are you kidding me? No, I don't want that damn thing.
Oh, that's a proud dad moment right
Madison.
There. Yeah.
Oh, you damn Skippy, Scotty. That's what it felt like. We're giving out participation trophies and not rewarding the best teams in college football.
Yeah. So when you look at Alabama, I think should have been in. I agree with that. But the problem,
100%.
But the problem is that Alabama didn't feel like they were punished for their championship game where BYU was.
Yeah, and I talked to Kalen DeBoer, head coach at Alabama, yesterday on ESPN Radio, and he kind of emphasized that very thing. Now, look, nobody, and I do mean nobody, has the resume of top 25 wins by the committee's standard. Nobody has more than Alabama.
Yeah.
They went 4 straight weeks. And, Scotty, you cover the game. You call games for Utah State, which, by the way, congrats to Bronco Mendenhall and the boys for making a bowl game. I mean, that's awesome and a program builder. But when it comes to just that stretch run, man, find me somebody that had a harder month of college football in the 2025 campaign than Alabama did.
Yeah, and
they came out win. Their first game of the season, which counts. I mean, because that's Miami, Notre Dame. And that's where the committee screwed up. We'll touch on that in a moment. Because in my opinion, they should have had Miami over Notre Dame from the get-go, from the very first rankings. But for some reason, they didn't, and I don't understand why. But you find this, to me, was not about Alabama. Alabama is one of the best teams in college football. And against Georgia, they were down not just 8 starters, including their star running back in Jam Miller, but also 6 backups. And they beat the team that they lost to in the SEC championship game at Georgia.
Yeah.
This was a neutral site, right? So, you factor that in, and then let's go to BYU. BYU loses to the same team twice in the season, which is now a top 5 team in by the committee standards. Why is BYU punished?
Yeah.
The whole thing makes absolutely zero sense, Scotty. Zero. But we're going to go ahead and reward James Madison. And I'm not trying to take shots here, man, but give me the best teams out there. And if you line up BYU, hell, if you lined up Utah, if you lined up Texas, right, against James Madison, who do you think's winning that football game?
Oh, yeah, no, there's no doubt. And look, I like, because look, I call games for a G5 school, so I'm going to be a little bit partial. And I love the fact that they get that auto bid, but that's it. That's where it needs to come to an end, right? You get one, and then that's it. And so, yeah, Tulane, you get it, and then everybody else like, okay, no, ain't happening. I'm just glad Duke didn't get into the party. That's for sure. They sure screwed over everybody.
Well, and that's another one. And I did that game. And Duke was by far the better team that night against UVA.
Yeah.
But that's the ACC's fault for having the tiebreaker where they have it. Like the American Conference, it's the top 2 ranked teams by the College Football Playoff Committee's rankings. Oh, my God. It's so simple, Scotty.
Yeah.
Holy hell. Right? There you go. So it's North Texas, it's Tulane, and Tulane's in. The ACC tried to get creative. And, all right, we're going to go with this unbelievable tiebreaker. No, it should have been UVA and Miami. And if Miami wins the game, guess what? Miami's in, and now you have the other at-large that's available.
Yeah.
And then you can put in, if you want, Notre Dame. But I also want to go off on this. Notre Dame, you're going to blame the ACC? Are you kidding? You're in bed with them for 24 of 25 sports. The one you aren't is what cost you from being in the college football playoff. So, Pete, hey, man, and I want to call him baklava, right?
Yeah.
Because it's I don't understand where you're coming from. You're going to blame the ACC for politicking for their team. And you're going to go and say, well, but we're in bed with them and we have a relationship in 24 other sports. Well, you know what, partner? You got burned.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're not in bed with them for the most important one. And if you're not in a P4 conference, sorry to damn hear about it. You got burned.
Ian, we appreciate it as always, man. You're the best. Thanks for hanging out with us.
We didn't even get into Christmas. Nothing.
I know.
This was so serious, Scotty.
I know the doorbell's ringing, so it sounds like the connection to Amazon's hooked up in a big, big way at the Fitzsimmons house.
Hey, let me tell you, between my mom and my wife, Amazon shows up here every half hour on the hour. It's insane. Why is that when you're on the road also? Even during the holiday season, your entire family might leave and boxes still show up.
Oh, yeah.
How is that possible?
I have no idea, but I will say that between the neighbor and ourselves, the Amazon driver is like another member of our household. We're like first name basis. We know who their kids are. We've been to their soccer games. Like he's a member of the family.
We've been to their soccer games.
Yeah.
Hey, is it snowing? Is it? Just tell me.
Actually, no. It's not bad. It's like 45, 46. We're actually pretty low on the snow. 52, Lloyd says right now. 52 outside.
All right. Well, I'll be out there in March. I'll call you when I get there.
Let's do it, man.
Let's have a dump and have a blast.
Let's go.
Man, but, hey, look. Bottom line is, man, let's give us the best teams from now on.
Yes.
And BYU should be in because you know how I feel about the Fighting Satakis. They deserve to be in, and they are one of the best teams. That's why they deserve to be in college football.
No doubt. You're the man, Ian. Thanks, buddy.
All right, bro. See you.
There he is, Ian Fitzsimmons, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone from ESPN. He's right. He's right. Everything he's complaining about, spot on. The committee, done screwed up. And there's guys that I have respect for. And I don't know how much Mark Harlan will talk about his time on that committee. I don't know what the rules are. But I got to imagine there were people on that committee that are looking around and like, what are we doing? What? I don't want my name attached to this thing. I don't want to go out and say I was a part of this committee because we screwed up. We absolutely screwed this thing up. Right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, it's time to give away some Jazz tickets. Let's do it.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the three. Hey, hands! Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, caller number 12 right now. If you want those tickets, 801-575-ZONE. You win a pair of tickets. See the Jazz and the Lakers coming up on Thursday, December 18th at the Delta Center. All right, one of my favorite dudes on the planet, Casey Smurthwaite, kind enough to join us. He is a consultant. He is a writer. There's not a lot you don't have your fingers in right now. How you doing, Casey?
I'm doing great, Scotty. How are you?
I'm good. All right. So one thing that I've always gone to you for is information on the business of college athletics. And so when this whole thing with the private equity hit, I was saying, who can I talk? I'm like, I got to talk to Casey. Casey will know what's going on. So the old line from The Office, explain this to me like I'm 5. What does this mean? And is this a landslide of deals that are about to start now across college football that now one person did it, now everybody's probably going to do it?
Well, absolutely, that's going to happen. And again, thanks for having me on, Scotty. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and our listeners. I think the big thing is going back to The Office. We're not talking about are we going to get a new copier or new chairs. We're talking about there's a little bit more inventory to be had here. We're talking about $500 million worth. And now, is that all going to come out all at once? No, it's not. But something that Michael Scott would love to hear is it's like mommy and daddy with Oscar. Mommy and daddy are running a lemonade stand, and you've got to make money. And at the end of the day, they're creating a third party or a special purpose vehicle, or in other words, an LLC that's going to drive revenue and going to make University of Utah athletics more competitive and have more access, more inventory, and leverage and protect their assets that are like season tickets or sponsorship spots or ticketing, licensing, trademark. All of that to be said, they're creating this third-party element that's not that's for-profit, that's not a non-profit, that University of Utah Athletics technically resides in, because University of Utah is a 501c3 nonprofit. But at the end of the day, at the fifth grade level here, the University of Utah is about to get a lot of cash, that a lot of people are going to be jealous of, and you're going to see the floodgates open of multiple collegiate athletic departments who have already had similar conversations. You might have noted earlier today, Mark Harlan mentioned that these conversations have been going on for a year. They are not the only school. But what the nice and big interesting part here is University of Utah is going to be number one. They're going to be pointed to that they broke the floodgates open.
So there's been talks in terms of private equity in conferences. Could this also, does this preclude Utah from being involved in the Big 12 private equity, or is that a separate deal all by itself?
It's a separate deal all by itself because the Big 12 owns their rights and entities. The Big 12 can't come in and say, hey, University of Utah, you need to operate X, Y, and Z. Now, they can make suggestions, the way some of the game operations happen. Absolutely. This does not impact anything that Brett Yormark does at the Big 12 level. What this does impact, if anything, is the recent deal that was struck last year with JMI Sports, which contract goes
I was going to ask you about that.
2034. Yep, yeah. 2034. Now, I'm looking at the contract right now. It's pulled up, and, behind the scenes, Scotty, I'll make sure you get that contract. But 2028, there is an opt-out. That is an opt-out date. They also have an opt-out date at 2030. I have a very strong suspicion because everything that this private equity, private capital deal, there's threads of both in it, coincide along with JMI Sports. They are doing and saying the same things, even down to trademarks and licensing to up to naming rights for stadiums. I think that's where the biggest impact is going to be is how does this look and how does this impact their 10-year deal they just signed worth hundreds of millions for this deal with Otro Capital.
So those companies like Learfield and JMI, they're the ones that could really feel the brunt of this?
Absolutely. And this is one thing that I think everybody needs to sit back and take a big, deep breath. All right. This isn't the end of the world. These conversations have been going on. Third-party money has been in the industry since the 80s with Learfield, Pacquiolin, Van Wagner, JMI Sports. Money's been there. Now, what this does is this is an influx on steroids. This is going Mach 4. This is a big amount of money that is brand new, and everybody's going to start to ask questions. Now, Mark Harlan and his team, they're talking about how this is going to benefit all of the student-athlete experience. Well, yeah, I think it's going to be focused on men's basketball and football that are, quote-unquote, the revenue drivers. But I think you're going to kind of have that snowball effect that, yeah, there's going to be some money thrown down to other sports because there's so much money to be made and leveraged in this deal. So I'm very curious to see how it impacts other sports. I think it's a signal to what's to come here in the next 5, 7, 10 years. There's going to be a breakaway. There's going to be a super league because there is so much money to be had and made in just those two sports that it no longer fits the profile within the NCAA.
So when you read a news story about something involved with private equity, usually it's never a positive thing. Whether it's a newspaper being gutted by private equity or a restaurant or whatever they might be involved in, there is somewhat of a bad rap when it comes to private equity. And whenever you see large amounts of money, it usually comes with some high level of accountability. What is the University of Utah on the hook for in terms of how much are you letting the fox in the hen house, if you will, in terms of this contract?
Well, that remains to be seen. But I will say this, that private equity, private capital, like I said earlier, has been around since the 80s. But you are now taking private funds, private capital, industry folks who've been in the industry for 30, 40 years and plus, now bringing in kind of that New York Wall Street mentality.
Yeah.
They're going to come in and they are going to say, hey, you know what? Do we really need X, Y, and Z? Do we really need to leave a day or two before the football game? Or can we maximize our profit and be okay with just leaving 12 hours beforehand? Especially, you know what? Let's look at softball. Technically, you can play a maximum of 56 games, but only 38 of them are counted for the minimum of the NCAA requirements. Does this impact some of the day-to-day decision-making to maximize the ROI? There are a lot of questions to be answered. This is being displayed and promoted as a no-risk solution for the University of Utah athletics. Now, I've had the privilege of sitting in on some of these private equity calls and pitches from some of these entities. What they basically say is, we are going to bet on ourselves. We're going to give you the money, but we're going to be the boots on the ground that are going to help augment your current staff, your current day-to-day activities. And then we're going to take that revenue share, or we're going to take shares, phantom shares, so what, or whatever they're going to be called, and then we're going to do a revenue split. They're banking and betting on themselves that the no risk is really the risk on Otro Capital. But both you and I know, and anybody with a pulse, or anybody who's bought paper from Dunder Mifflin or Sabre products, they know there's going to be changes that are going to come forth because of this.
And some of those changes may not be overly comfortable, for sure. I mean, there's going to be some hard conversations when you let somebody come in with that kind of money. They've earned their way and they've bought their way to have a say in the daily operations, and that's exactly what's going to go on behind the scenes here.
No, and then behind the scenes, there's going to be a lot more that are going to come that are going to impact, your BYUs, your Utah States of the world, because there's private equity. You're probably even seeing, EA Sports right now. Going and venturing across the pond to get, Saudi money. When you have men's basketball video game that's going to be coming online here, made by 2K Sports, Utah State fans aren't probably going to be very happy, because in the next 2 or 3 years when that game comes online, there's a high likelihood, and I would bet a lot of money on it, that Utah State men's basketball is not in the video game, because they're focusing on the top 60 to top 70 schools. Now, yeah, you can look at the net ranking, and now we're really going down the rabbit hole talking video games here. But I think it's all to be said that there are changes and discussions happening with a few select schools and companies that are going to drive decisions for the NCAA.
Overall, do you feel like this is a net positive for the sport and the net positive for the University of Utah?
This is going to be very unpopular. I think something needs to be done. And I think that I am cautiously optimistic, because I think that there needs to be changes in the NCAA landscape. There needs to be changes at the academic and athletic levels. What works in the softball world or in the volleyball world does not work for football and men's basketball. I think this bifurcates more between those sports, those haves and have-nots, and I think that needs to be done, because we need to get to a place where the decisions of men's basketball and football programs aren't impacting the 90% of the other student athletes and the institution.
Casey Smurthwaite, kind enough to join us. Consultant, also writes for you're doing some stuff for Extra Points too, correct?
I am. Matt Brown and Extra Points, helping analyze the sports business of collegiate athletics.
So when you've got a private equity firm that has maybe a little bit of background, I saw your tweet earlier today. The owner's got a little bit of sports background, but they're business guys, and that's ultimately what it boils down to. They're here to run a business. Do you think the quality of your athletic programs will benefit in the long term from this?
No, I don't. I think you're going to see a little bit more of an emphasis on the ROI. Some of those aspects that aren't making money are going to be taken away, even though they might be popular. I like to use the example of the game programs, and Scotty, covering Utah State, you probably have, fans who wish they had that manual, that game program in hand, and now everything's going digital because it's cheaper, it's more cost effective. That on a bigger scale, going back to the softball schedule, you really only need 38, 40 games that are required. What are you going to do with those other 18 games? And the same thing goes for baseball. There's a lot more of a let's meet a minimum versus focusing on the maximum. And I think some of those decisions are going to impact it. Now, at the end of the day, I think it forces some of these tough conversations between an athletics department and an academic campus institution, because they are not the same. And at the end of the day, athletics could be cut at any institution tomorrow, and the university and the academic mission continues. And it's not vice versa. However, when you start to have some of this money that's being thrown around, it actually enables and it gives an avenue for a breakaway. And then you start to be able to understand the full scope of how collegiate athletics are ran. Hey, if this truly is a business or a for-profit entity, we need to be operating that way. We need to look at things and make decisions in our own grand scheme of things versus trying to get permission from somebody on campus who might have been cut from, t-ball or got kicked in the face with a soccer ball. Because that happens. Yeah. And that's one it happens on the daily, from licensing, trying to get a logo approved, to, an event space being used instead of a concert happening. The men's basketball program wants to have a game that night. Well, you're going to default to the university in that aspect. So these are some of the money and the decisions that have to be made, and conversations that are going to happen that are going to help truly, finalize what the mission of the university and what the mission of the athletics department is.
Casey, you're the man. We appreciate it. And throw out the old Twitter handle to make sure everybody can follow you because you got great information on your Twitter account.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, it's assistant to the regional manager. No, it's actually at Casey Smurthwaite. And that's a K as in King, C as in Charlie, and hit S, and you're probably going to find me. If not, I have a feeling Scotty G is going to throw out my Twitter handle for the world to see, and we can go from there.
No pressure there. Nice. I like it. Hey, Casey, you're the best, man. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Scotty.
Casey Smurthwaite, I've known him for a long, long time. Really smart dude when it comes to the business side of collegiate athletics. All right, Hans and Scotty, remember Bill Armstrong's going to join us, general manager of the Utah Mammoth, coming up in about 12 minutes from right now. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to hear from the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, on your exclusive home of the Utah Mammoth, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for our weekly conversation with the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong. And Bill, I apologize. Hans he gives you his sincerest condolences. He's in Hawaii right now and is unable to join us right now. So I'm sure he feels horrible that he's unable to join us after sitting in 85-degree weather in Hawaii right now.
That's terrible. It must be tough for him.
I know. He feels like he's sacrificing, I'm sure. Hey, you got a couple of guys making their debuts over the last week or so. How do you feel like the youngsters are doing?
Well, good. Daniel Boot came up, and he was on a role there in the American League, and obviously he's a young kid. He's only 20 years old, but he's played 2 years of pro over in Russia, and then he went down to Tucson at the start of the season for us in the American League and played real well. And we were at a spot where we're like, you know what, let's see what he can do, and we'll give him a call and bring him into the into the team, and he's been great. I find like the pace at the NHL is so high, it takes him a little bit of time to adjust, and I thought he's done a real nice job. He plays the 200 feet of the ice. He's good offense, defensive, and he gives us something we don't have is that size up front. So he's been a nice add for us.
I am kind of curious, when you look at guys playing professionally in Russia or in Europe, and then you got guys in the AHL, what one of those leagues comes closer to replicating the speed and physicality of the NHL? Well,
listen, Russia's a pretty good league, but it's the American League.
Okay.
If you could survive that league, it's chaos, and there's a ton of games coming at you, and it's a whirlwind for you. And I think sometimes the players set out to be an NHL player, and they, obviously they get down in the American League and they realize how good that league actually is and how hard that league is, and it's almost depressing for them, at times, because they realize the American League it's a tough league to have success in, and they got to work their way up. But it's a great training ground for them. We had Josh Doan and the Gunthers of the world, and the Daniel Boots of the world, come up over the years, and it's been great. It's if you can play down there, you certainly give yourself a chance to play up here.
How do you, part of your job and coach's job is not just X's and O's and building a team, but also a little bit of a psychiatrist too. How do you help Logan get through some of these issues from a mental standpoint and make sure that he stays positive through, dealing with injuries?
Well, it's a great question. For a lot of times, these young hockey players, they get hurt like that. It's the first time they've ever been injured in their life. And it's one thing to deal with the injury. It's another thing to deal being away from the team and you feel disconnected. And, you're sitting around your place, your apartment the whole time, and you're banged up. Nobody's around. The guys are on the road. And it's really, it's hard to go through, and it's hard to explain unless you've ever gone through it. But it's an eye-opening experience for the players, and then it's getting that confidence to get back and not feeling like, hey, I'm playing not to get injured. There's a whole, mental warfare that goes on, but it's truly hard for young players because some of these players, it's the first time they've ever experienced that.
What kind of opportunities that provide to other guys to try to fill in those big shoes of his?
Well, I've always felt like when there's injuries in your club, it's next man up. There's always somebody. There's always something good that happens from it. You learn something about your team, and you learn something about someone that stepped up into that new role and that new opportunity. So I always believe there's something good when injuries happen. So, I think that, the likes of the Barrett Haydens and, Nick Schmaltz has gone into center for us. So they've got opportunity to have huge impact on our team. And it's kind of that next man mentality to step up.
Bill Armstrong joining us, general manager of the Utah Mammoth. All right, I get nervous because I could see you wanting to throw the phone against the wall when I ask you this question. But I know you're not moral victory guy, but is there things you can take away from that second and third period against the Kings where you got off to the slow start but then played much better down the final stretches of that game?
I think there are. There's some lessons. The Kings are a pretty good team. They get up in front of you and they get a goal lead that they're hard to catch. I liked a lot of the things that we did to get ourselves back into that game, a strong second, a strong third. But at the same time, we as a team, we have to find a way to get points out of those games. The NHL is too close, it's too tight. We're in the race, but at the same time, we've got to find ways to get points. We've been close, but we've lost a lot of one-goal games of late, so we've got to find a way to stay in. And I'm not a big believer in excuses, so we've got to find a way to do that. Whether we're down Logan Cooley, we still have to find a way to win. And I think our team, there's other ways we need to generate offense, and I think going to the net and shooting the puck more is something that our team can do to generate more offense.
When you got the defending champs come into town, how much of a litmus test does that team provide when you go up against them to kind of see where you're at and the development of certain guys?
Well, you can get a win against the Stanley Cup champs, if we approach that game the right way and give it to them, and you get to walk out of there knowing you beat the Stanley Cup champs. So they're used to it. It's a everyday thing for them. Everybody's trying to knock them off their perch. But definitely it's a huge game for us. And they've got that little savvy compete about them. They know how to win. They know how to win championships. So it's a great test for our group.
And they're dealing with some injury issues as well. But anytime you get a chance to watch that team, you have to take advantage of it, because I love seeing how these youngsters can handle. Because I got to imagine you get a win against that team, the amount of capital that you can take from that for future reference. Hey, you beat these guys. You handled these guys. I got to imagine there's a lot of lessons that can be brought and referenced going forward from that game.
Well, a lot of lessons and a lot of confidence as an organization to go in there and be able to not only compete but to beat them. And I think for our team, we've done some good things this year. We've done some things where we've had some setbacks. But I always believe in the end, if you can learn from that and grow and get better every single day as a team, you got a chance to fight to the end and get into the playoffs. So there's some learning lessons for us that we've gone through so far. But I do feel like those lessons we're learning and we're getting better.
SEG's Pay It Forward Day. You got players going out in the community. Clayton Keller's leading a group of teammates, helping out with holiday gifts. The one thing I love, look, there's a lot of things I love about hockey, but this league seems to be more community-based than a lot of other leagues because they seem so tied to that community. How much fun do these guys have getting out there and helping out as much as they possibly can?
Well, I've always believed that 99% of all hockey players are great human beings, So they like to do it. I think they're genuine about it. I think they love to go to the hospitals and they love to go on the ice with the kids and to go to places and hand out Christmas gifts and wrap presents and trees for kids and do all that stuff. And they're great at that, and they're great at getting into the community and into the schools. And I've always felt like when your players are more involved in the community, they fight harder for the community on the ice. They have more pride about playing in Utah. So I think it comes from a good spot in hockey players where they want to help out, and I do believe that the favors returned, and it brings some more passion to play in front of our fans.
The fans wrote letters to the captain, obviously after the tragic loss of his father on Thanksgiving. How cool is that? I mean, that's just such a great thing from your fans to be able to come together and help out in that way.
Well, it's a huge thing. I think our fans are very caring, and they show their love to our captain, and I think that's an inspiring thing for him. And he's going through a hard time, with the loss of his father. So I think those small little moments and things that our fans do to show his appreciation for his father all help out and help motivate him. So I think he's pretty psyched about some of the letters he got.
All right, so I'm going to let you handle this as diplomatically as you'd like. And if you want to pass on it, that's totally fine. But how concerned are you, or how should fans be concerned about the quality of the Olympic game if the ice is 3 feet shorter?
They won't notice it.
They won't? Okay.
It's not going to affect you on your couch in Utah with your feet up and a couple non-alcoholic beers or sodas. It's not going to affect you at all. You're going to be fine. So, and it's not going to affect the players there. It's you won't notice it.
So this is kind of a bit of a non-story because there's a lot of people starting to throw fits about this.
I think there's the NHL does a great job with the NHLPA of making sure it's safe for the players to play. But as a hockey player, you've grown up and when you go into a local community, the rink's a little bit different than the one you played on, and you go to the next one, it's Olympic size, and the next one's a little bit smaller. So I think always in your mind, you've always adjusted and learned to play. If you can practice on a rink the same size, I think that helps. But the safety for the players, I think they're going to be okay.
All right. This is coming from a family member wanting me to ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you watched Shoresy, and how accurate is it, if you have?
I haven't. What is that?
Oh, it's a show about a Canadian hockey league, and it's a little bit of a rough watch, and I think that's why people are curious to know how accurate it is. But
I gotta watch it. I gotta take my next night off. I'm gonna have to watch that. What's it on?
It's on Hulu. And I actually was on a road trip, and I watched it. And I'm not going to lie, it's a comedy. It makes you laugh. I would say if you're it's not something you want to watch in front of the kids out there if you're listening right now. But it is the language is something. But it's a rather entertaining show for sure. So I'll send you a link to it.
I'll give you some feedback on that. I'll have to watch it.
All right, sounds good. Hey, thanks, Bill. We appreciate your time as always.
Thanks very much. Appreciate having me on.
All right, sounds good. Lloyd, I think you would actually like that. It was a show that a family member of mine, and I'm not even going to out him because the show's the language is extreme. Let's just say that. But I will say that it's entertaining. Have you heard of it?
I have. I haven't watched it. I haven't even seen a preview of it, but I have heard of it. And by the way, I think this is a sign that I'm getting older because I start to see these and I'm like, oh my gosh, geez, guy, this is getting a little risque or whatever. Sometimes geez, we're really pushing the envelope, aren't we?
It's just language. That's the gist of it. But boy, they say some things that are like, whoa, okay then. But I don't know. I was watching it on a road trip, and that's the only time I really have time to catch up on shows. Is when I'm traveling. And so you get on a plane and you can binge watch through a show pretty quick. And I knocked out a few seasons of that over this last trip. And it's one of those where you start laughing and you're like, I should not be laughing at that. And you're looking around like nobody, like my speakers aren't on. People can't hear this, right? Okay, good.
10:30 at night has become my watching time for my shows.
Yeah.
And I know the kids are sound asleep.
Well, you've never been opposed to bad language around the kids.
Don't. It was an accident, Scotty. It was an accident. How long are you going to hold on to that?
A while, actually.
I slipped.
A while, yeah. You fox-hollowed that thing, and that's fine.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, and then you won't let me forget it.
Well, as soon as you let me forget about Fox Hollow, then I think we can
never.
We can let it. All right, fair enough. By the way, can't thank Bill enough for coming on, and I always appreciate chatting with him. Josh Furlong's going to join us coming up in about 15 minutes from right now. Get his thoughts from the perspective of the University of Utah. All right, I do need a little life advice here from you, Lloyd, though. So I was at the airport trying to come home and dealing with a lot of delays, a lot of issues, and I don't know what's going on with airlines right now. But like in the middle of the government shutdown, I was able to get around easier than I have been over these last two trips. It's been nightmares. But Anyway, so I go to one of the little stores to grab an energy drink and a Coke.
$15 energy drink.
Oh
yes.
boy, they get you in those airports.
Yeah.
Whew. So anyway, and so I'm go up to the counter, and the man. Now this was in where was I at? This was in Charlotte, and I go to pay, and this guy, a gentleman, and he wasn't like 20 years old. This guy looked to be in his 40s or 50s, and he was super nice. He's like, "How are you, sir?" I'm like, "I'm great. I'm great." He's like, and so I go, and he's like, "Is that all you need?" I'm like, "Yep. Anything else I can do for you?" Nope. He's like, "Would you like me to apply the senior discount to this?" And I stopped for a second. I'm like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "No." Now I should have. Look, if you're going to put me out there like that, then I might as well have just said, "Yeah, knock off a buck or two or whatever the senior discount is."
Hands would have.
Had I been in that mode, but I was so.
And then he would have crushed him.
Yeah. I was so taken back by it that I was like, no, I don't want your stupid senior discount. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "All right, so wait a minute. How old do you think I am?" Now, this is on the heels of the Mountain West Conference Media Day when Hans asked a player from Colorado State how old he thought we were. And he put me at 61, and he put Hans at 57, 56. And so that's already rattling around in my brain. That already rattled my cage. And so I go to this guy, and I'm like, "All right, sir, just for the record, how old do you think I am?" And he's like, "Well," he goes, "the senior discount doesn't apply until you're 65. And he goes, "I don't think you're that old." And I'm like, "Oh, well, good." I go, "So how old do you think I am?" He's like, "I don't know, 61, 62, 63. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
now, look, I understand.
I think that's somebody that would just fail at working at a carnival. There are people like that have really bad judgments in age, weight, you name it. Like there are just people like that are aloof.
Okay, but I mean, and I know he was trying to be nice, like he was trying to offer it, but I didn't want it because it would be out of principle conceding that I'm not that old. And so I told him, I'm like, "How old do you think I am?" He goes, "Well, 63. And I'm like, he goes, "How old are you?" And I'm like, 49.
I haven't even hit 50.
I'm not even at double nickels. I'm not even at single nickel yet. And he's like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah." And so I had to pull out my driver's license and show it to this guy to prove that I was not in my 60s. Now, look, I get it. I get it. Like, you know what? Some of us may age a little quicker than others from a aesthetic standpoint. Totally get it. I'm willing to accept it. I understand, during the whole dropping some LB, sometimes that affects, some things and how you look. I get that too. But you can't tell me I look 63 years old, right? Right?
Hey, some people,
Please.
I'm telling you, Jackson thinks I'm on the verge of dying.
Well, so, yeah, your kids are not the best judgment of how old you are.
He thinks I'm going to be dying any moment. So that's where I sit.
But
on
even our dude that sends over our great listener who sends us AI pictures of ourselves, like that picture of us as pirates, made me look like I was 92 years old.
AI is not fair. AI is inaccurate. Let's be honest. Come on. I agree. It makes me look like I'm in my 60s.
Somehow,
meanwhile, there's Hans.
Somehow Hans looks like he's 25 and ready to break dudes.
I know. Exactly.
I don't know, man. Like that hit me. I've been called a lot of bad things. Like you do radio, you do sports radio, you say things that people don't agree with or things that people don't like. And now you have social media where people have connections to you and can come at you at any given moment and say just whatever they want under the cloak of anonymity. And so I've heard some stuff. Trust me, I've heard some things. And, most of it,
cowards.
A bunch of, 95% of it doesn't really bother me. It did at first, but now you kind of get callous to it, so it doesn't really bother me that much. But then when I get some random dude in an airport who I will never see again, said that I look like I was 63 years old, that one, for some reason, I cannot get over. And I've been a mess ever since. And it's like, wait a minute, I've been called a lot of things, and it never really affected me. But for some reason, I don't know. And maybe it's because, the health kick and trying to drop LBs, you're feeling good about yourself. Like, all right,
And I would say, I think you feel like you're going the other way. You're looking younger.
Okay. Look, I appreciate what you're doing here, Lloyd.
Scotty,
I really do.
Come on.
And
looking spry.
It's not often that you're my hype guy, and I really appreciate you doing that. But, I get it. I totally understand. I look older than most dudes my age, but not that old. Eesh.
Though I will say the layers that you are adding on because you get so cold, it does give you an older feel. So maybe that's what it is.
No,
Were you wearing your beanie?
I was wearing the beanie.
Hey.
But I thought that would make me look younger because it covers the hairline.
That might go the other direction.
You think?
Yeah, I think the beanie might hurt you.
Right.
Well, maybe you just need to go with a hat, a hip hat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because that's what everybody wants to see their 63-year-olds get a little hipper.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. All right, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
As Utes, Cougars, and Aggies, yeah, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Mo money doesn't come with mo problems for the University of Utah. Josh Furlong, KSL.com, Ute Insider, kind enough to join us. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing well, Scotty. How are you?
Good. $500 million help out your bank account? Because it certainly seems like it's going to help out the University of Utah's.
Hey, can we just get, because we cover the U, can we get a little bit of that cut? I mean, I'll take a half of a percent, get whatever we need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we're not asking for much. 1% would be fine. I'd be totally fine with that. So, look, there's a lot of people that are concerned about this because anytime you let private equity get involved, there's a high level of accountability, and they run things like a business and a for-profit business, which the University of Utah Athletics now is. Where's your concern level about this? Obviously, the money's great, but there's also a lot of strings that come attached with this stuff.
Yeah, obviously, short term, it's great, right? You get an infusion of cash that absolutely helps the university in this day and age where it's really difficult to be able to fund all the different demands that you have, whether that be through the revenue share contracts or anything else with NIL. That's great. But obviously, like you said, private equity, that always comes with, kind of this hesitation to want to accept it, and for good reason, because a lot of these private equity firms, they go in there, they obviously want to increase profits, and then when you can't get that or it doesn't work out, they gut you and things, are ruined. So, I think there's definitely fear in that regard, but I do think the way that Utah has kind of organized this, I don't want to say it eliminates all risk because there's always risk associated with this, right? Especially in any for-profit arm of anything. But I think with what they've done and being able to maintain controlling interest, being able to utilize that cash to be able to help both of these parties grow, that at least gives it much more of a fighting chance because now both parties have to be able to kind of put forth their effort. And so one of the things that kind of struck me from one of the members of the board was talking about this as kind of a mentorship, right? This is an opportunity for them to give you that foot in the door, so to speak, so that you can get in and get all the resources that you need to make this work, and then eventually see that exit. Now, the path to get that exit and where that leads Utah and what happens along the way, that's obviously the real meat of the story and trying to figure out what it is. But I think at least the way that they've structured it at least makes more sense than just this raw private equity deal where they're throwing you a bunch of cash and you don't know what the next 5 or 7 years are going to look like.
Interesting. I did see Charlie Baker from the NCAA was asked about it, and he said it's something that I think Utah did a very how they handled it was smartly done, and that the NCAA was at least was made aware of the background on it. And so there's a lot of people signing off on this that are saying, yeah, it's a smart move. And I think the thought, when you bring up the thought of an exit plan from this, I like that. And I like the fact that this is looking at like, hey, look, we need some help right now. Let's get that help right now and then find a way to mutually kind of perhaps in the next decade or so kind of separate from this.
Yeah, and I think part of that, too, is this is an entity that they don't want to see ever go away, right? It's more using them to be able to get that jump start and then slowly see them exit, but then fill that in with either other strategic partners or not, depending on how they're able to make it work. And so the one thing that kind of gives you a modicum of belief that this can work is that this is more based on founders by boosters trying to support. Instead of just throwing money into some unlimited pool where you're essentially burning it because you don't know where that money's going to go, this now has true potential to be able to have investment potentials, where you can grow that revenue. You can then utilize it in a way, in a more for-profit avenue that you couldn't before. And so there's benefits there, because now you have people that are attached to the university, people that are highly invested in the university wanting to succeed, putting money into this in a way that is far less than just throwing money into an athletic department that's going to burn it at will. You don't know what the coaches are going to do with it. You don't know what sponsors are going to do with it. This is a little bit different in that regard. It still comes with risk, by all means.
Yeah.
But I think there's at least more of a backing to this where, everybody knows that you're going to need an infusion of cash in any level of the athletic departments around the country. And if this works, it's beautiful, right? Like, this is a great idea, and Utah's going to be looked at as this, revolutionary, program that changed the way of college that changes the landscape of college athletics. But if it fails, this becomes kind of, one more part of the NCAA problem where, nobody can get it right, and it's just another problem after another problem.
Now, I don't know what failure looks like and how bad that can be, but I do applaud the University of Utah, the Board of Trustees, Mark Harlan, and everybody that came on board with this, because so much. And look, I loved Utah and the Pac-12. I loved that conference, but I do think the Pac-12 was, and this is a reason why they may not really exist anymore, they were too reactionary and not really innovative on how to get ahead of issues. And so I applaud the University of Utah on this and being like, you know what? Everybody's waiting to see who the first one is to jump in the pool. We'll do it, and let's go, and let's see what happens, because if we just sit here on the sidelines and let the world pass us by, we can't do it. So let's at least try to do something, and I admire that.
Yeah, you have to admire that. I mean, I think the fact that they're not just kind of waiting on the sidelines hoping that it works, or that they can find something down the line after it's been proven, kind of shows their level of commitment to this, right?
Yeah.
This isn't just some haphazard thing. This is something that they started the process in June of last year of trying to come up with a way to fund the athletics. They knew, the NCAA ruling was going to come down. The House ruling was going to come down. They knew that there was going to be a situation where suddenly you're going to have to fund at least $20 million. On top of that, you have NIL. You have all these things. And so, you have to credit Taylor Randall of all these people. And there's many people to thank there, but you have to credit him for kind of his grand vision of what this is. He also sees this beyond this, right? I think if you take a next step beyond this, they're realizing that the landscape of college athletics is nowhere near settled. And if they can use this as kind of a leverage point to maybe get to a higher level, whether that be the Big Ten or whatever the Power 2 structure looks like or whatever that may be, this is another stepping stone to get there, where if it works, now you're suddenly in a much better and more favorable landing spot than trying to be the guy coming from behind and saying, hey, pick us. I'm
glad you brought that up, because that was expressed to me when I was talking to some people earlier this morning about this, and they said that, it would be really easy to say, and frankly a little lazy to say that, this is done to keep pace with BYU. And in reality, what it is, and this is the same thing that BYU's doing, is everybody's just trying to position themselves so that when the dust clears, whether it be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, that you've got a seat at the big boys table. Because you're right, this is going to a Power 2. It's going to be the Big Ten and the SEC, and then whoever else they want to invite into the party, and you want to get one of those invitations.
Well, there's a reason why Taylor Randall has laid out the plan that he has beyond just this private equity. If you may remember, I think it was about 6 months ago, the university laid out a plan to completely renovate and change the entire look of the university campus and create these different areas, whether it be entertainment districts or other avenues where, the Huntsman Center being demolished as part of that aspect of it. They're trying to build up this new campus, so to speak, to be able to position themselves in a way that it works, whether that be increasing student body, increasing, the dorms, increasing the facilities. They're doing all of those things as a step to be able to get to whatever that future landscape looks. This now is just another vehicle to get there, and it just so happens to be one that can actually fund a ton of money, and it also lines up very well with kind of what the Big Ten is doing right now as well. They're trying to find private equity deals to be able to get there. So, the university hasn't been shy about their ideals of trying to get to, everybody says the Big Ten, and I think that lines up based off of like their academic affiliations, different things that way. But it's really just lining up in general with whatever that Power 2 structure or whatever that new structure looks like, where they can now position themselves and say, hey, look, we check this box, we check this box, we check this box. Oh, by the way, now we have the funds. We've created a model that works. That's what Utah's trying to do. So, yeah, as much as it is about now, they're genuinely looking to the future, and it may blow up in their face, right? We still don't know, but they're trying to look to the future to be able to get into that better landing spot.
So when you look at, you've covered Utah for a long time. You've seen a lot of really good Utah teams. This is a team that lost to a top 4 team in the college football playoff and a team that is making a lot of noise saying that they should be in the college football playoff in Texas Tech and BYU. This is a 10-2 Utah team. Frankly, the conversation should be, should Utah be in the college football playoff as well? Because the season they put together sadly isn't getting talked about enough, but this is one of Kyle Whittingham's better teams. Am I exaggerating in saying that?
No, not at all. And I mean, I think when you look at it, there's really just not that many 10-win seasons that take place in Utah history. If I look back, I think Kyle Whittingham has had only 8 over his entire tenure, and of that, 4 of those came with a regular season 10 wins. So I mean, this is not just something to say, oh, they got 10 wins. This was a pretty remarkable turnaround in what Utah was able to do at a Power 4 level. I think the problem with why there's not so many people commenting about Utah is, one, the way the last 2 games went, right? The run defense just absolutely was porous. Things didn't work out very well. You kind of sputtered to the end. Yes, you got wins, but it came as a come from behind stuff. But then there was always just kind of that factor of you're always going to be behind BYU. Maybe if Utah went out and absolutely destroyed Kansas State and then destroyed Kansas, maybe you had a little bit of a belief that maybe if BYU loses that championship game that they could get Utah could jump. But I just think there was always kind of a ceiling for Utah with where the committee ranked them, that there wasn't going to be any more of these resume builders, right? Like, you're not playing another top 25 team. And so it just became a challenge for this Utah team to get there. With that said, this is a team that is on the fringe. And I think I told many people at the beginning of the season that if you can be in that conversation, whether it be for a conference championship or into the playoffs, I think that's success right there, right? And if you can now parlay that success into next year, that's going to help, right? Like, it's learning to kind of stack these seasons where BYU gets a benefit as well from being able to stack seasons. And you could argue maybe they didn't get the benefit that they needed. But when you continue to stack seasons, you can kind of start getting those benefits of the doubt because you keep proving it. Utah can now say, yeah, we had 1 or 2 bad seasons because of injuries. But if you look beyond that, we were in the Pac-12 championship 4 out of the last 5 years. Now, if we can get into it, we're in the conversation of the Big 12. That at least gets you in that conversation and allows you to kind of be a part of that conversation moving forward.
So Nebraska moved the meter for you. It's a name, but not necessarily a great team. Utah already a high favorite in that game. And in Vegas, you are playing in an NFL stadium. How do you think this is resonating with Utah fans right now?
It's been kind of an interesting mixed bag because, 2 years ago when Utah got to the Vegas Bowl, I think people were just done, right? And I think it also was 2 days before Christmas, and so there wasn't a lot of excitement. I'm getting a little bit more excitement about this team based on kind of the interactions that I've seen and the people that I've talked to. Nebraska, yeah, it's a Big Ten opponent, and obviously you want to go beat up on one of those, especially in the conversations that we had earlier. But I think just with what this Nebraska team presents, it's not really that exciting of a matchup because you go from being ranked 15th in the country with a 10-2 season to playing a 7-5 team that's 10th in the Big Ten. Like, it doesn't have the same validity to it. But at the same time, with where Utah's been in with bowl games and being on a 5-game losing skid, I think there's optimism that to finally turn the corner and say, hey, we don't know how long these bowl games are going to last. Obviously, the playoffs are the ideal. But if we can go and get another win in a bowl game, I think that gives at least another reason to be happy and successful. So I think there's optimism. I think fans are happy for it. It obviously comes at a better time in Las Vegas. People can go celebrate New Year's Eve, if you're into that kind of stuff. And so I think there's more optimism that way to be able to see your team out on a high note, especially knowing that a majority of those guys are most likely to come back for next year. So you're not going to have a ton of opt-outs.
Josh Furlong joining us, KSL.com, Utah Insider, has covered the Utes for a long time. So are you getting a vibe on Kyle? Does it feel like the longer this goes on, the more likely that he's coming back?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because, there's a handful of us media in the Kansas press or in the media room, at the end, and it was a completely different vibe from Kyle than I've ever seen before. Like everything was lining up to say Kyle was leaving, right? And I won't get into all the specifics, but it was clear that this was different. He was kind of soaking it up. Things were changing. And then as the week went on after that game, I started hearing rumblings that he was considering coming back. And so, I think this is a guy that really just he's struggling with not being in football, which is something that he's been in his entire life. I had an interview with him that just the two of us did a while back ago for a story about his son coaching, and he just said he's nervous about retirement. He doesn't know what that looks like. He's not sure that he's ready to hang it up in terms of being the guy that can just sit on the sidelines and be a fan. And so I think that's really weighing in on him. There's also conversations that I've had with people that talk about how he really thought in this transfer portal era that it would be much more transactional, meaning you wouldn't get to love the players the same way that you do. You don't get attached to them. And he's absolutely found that not to be the case. And so, he's latched on to Devin Dampier. He's latched on to Bird Ficklin and all these other players. And so it's become so much more difficult to try to walk away, especially when things are good and when you can see kind of what you can be next year. So, I think he sees that the writing's on the wall that he has to walk away eventually. But if he can continue to ride it out, especially with the 10-2 year, with another year that you could go be in the playoffs potentially, it's tough to kind of want to turn that away and let somebody else benefit from a lot of what you've been able to build on.
Yeah, and I think, you got Lavelle, who is a mentor, and Lavelle went a long time before shutting it down, but then also could he have enjoyed life a little bit more instead of just, schmucking it up with me and Ron McBride and hands on the radio? Like, is there more that he could have? I can see the emotions both ways. He probably got Jamie in his ear saying, "Hey, let's spend more time with the grandkids." This is a tough call, man. This is a really tough decision for him, because ultimately, very rarely in sports do you get to go out on your own, and he has a chance to do that if he wants.
Well, the thing with him is, I've always thought it was kind of like an either-or thing, where it's you coach football and sacrifice your family. And if you retire, it's now taking a priority over your family and spending time with grandkids. The more I've talked to different people that are close to him, the more it's been shown that he actually intertwines those. And so it's like he's finding a different way to create this kind of work-life balance where football is obviously everything, but he's finding ways where the grandkids can be a part of that, where the kids can be a part of that. And so I think that's what's making it even more challenging is to him, it's like, I've found that balance, right? Like, yeah. I don't need to go and say, hey, we're just going to go travel and I'm going to go spend time with grandkids. I still get to spend time with grandkids, but I also get to do everything that I love. So, it's tough. I don't envy him because it is a tough decision, and he still believes, that ego of his that he can do it, and he's proven that he can, especially this year at the 10-2 record. So, until proven otherwise, you got to kind of believe him. But at the same time, there comes a point where there's a diminishing return, right? Where are you staying on too long, and then what happens? Do you get a season like last year where it's a 5-7, and now you're walking away looking at what could have been?
Josh, we appreciate it. Great stuff and great insight as always at KSL.com. Get there now. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
There he is, Josh Furlong. All right, take a break, come back, wrap up this bad boy, get you ready for JJ and Alex next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.